Okay, welcome everybody. Brian is vice chair. Did you want to run the meeting? Or do you
Sure.
want me to just go?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to pull up the agenda and stuff you'd sent me.
Well, the first thing on the agenda really is the minutes. I don't know. I apologize. I didn't, I guess, include those in the mailing. But I guess the big thing that we did was vote to continue as a town committee with the ordinance and electing Rustin Taylor as chair and Brian as vice chair. I think
Okay.
that's pretty much what we did. So I guess, do I have you want to take another minute to read them, or do I have an motion to approve?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Earl has moved. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, and all in favor? Can you say it out loud? If we're voting?
All right.
Okay, 1.
Aye.
2, David?
I don't know, I was never notified.
I thought, well, I gave you, I think I gave you a copy of the minutes. Did I?
Yeah, but it was.
Afterwards, it was very unreal. So I don't
Oh.
know it.
Yeah, you never notified me.
Okay, well, I'll do that.
I don't know if I had to be sworn in first or.
No, there's no swearing for that.
Swearing.
No swearing. Only out when you're fishing. Okay, so. All right, well, technically, the board did approve you, so,
Okay.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is the warden's update.
We continue to monitor the flats. Really haven't seen a lot of activity right now. I mean, there's a lot of ice up. I know you're still digging. You seen anybody else out?
No.
No, no,
No tracks, no nothing.
no. Murphy was up in Squid Cove the other day, getting some quahogs. And said there's all kinds of clams up there, but no digging marks, so.
No, they're commercial. I haven't found it worthwhile up there, which,
Yeah,
no.
right. And some of the normal spots that we used to see people, just I haven't seen anybody.
Not burn out of it.
Yeah, so that's all I have.
Okay, so no, you haven't issued any warnings or summons or anything over the last year or so?
We've checked a few places. Murphy did a few patrols, but we really haven't encountered anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Heidi, do you have anything for the state's update?
Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple of things to note. The annual warden training will be held on March 30th and 31st in Belfast. And so if you have, I don't know that you have anybody that needs to go this year, but they should have contacted you if you do. And the next Shellfish Advisory Council meeting is at the beginning of April. I think April 5th is the date. So if anybody's interested in that, there should be notification going out on the Gov delivery email, but if not, you can reach out to me and I can provide you with that information. The only other thing I will note is that there are a lot of towns around the Frenchman Bay region that are getting pretty interested in coastal access issues, and that's a matter of, access points to the shore for harvesters and whether or not those are something that are in danger in your town of being lost due to property turnover or other reasons such as that. And if there's interest in your town, there are programs available through the state and nonprofit organizations to help towns plan for and manage the loss of coastal access. So I can also provide you with that information if it's something that your committee is interested in finding out more about. And that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you, Heidi.
No problem.
okay. Anybody have any questions for Heidi? Nope. Okay,
I
so the
think
next,
that,
go ahead.
oh, no, I was just saying that, it would definitely be great to get some more information on that from her. Especially with all the high turnover, with all the real estate and stuff changing hands lately. It could definitely potentially be a huge problem for us soon.
Okay.
I will send Claire the information that I have, and she can give it to you guys for your next meeting.
That'd be fantastic. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is the Shellfish Conservation Ordinance Amendment. All this is that we're removing the sunset clause out of the ordinance by recommendation from our attorneys. We had a number of ordinances that included a sunset clause saying that the ordinance would expire after 15 years unless it was reenacted. And we've had some issues with some ordinances because of that, and the attorneys have said that that's highly unusual and unnecessary. So we have elected to remove that clause from all of our ordinances that do have it. And so just to let you know, it's going to be on the warrant at town meeting to remove that clause.
Okay.
Any questions, comments?
No?
Okay. Next thing on the agenda, I sent out on email, Brian, I don't know if you got it yet, but the allocation plan for the licenses for 22 for this summer. And basically I kept it the same. Oops, I need to change dates. I kept it the same as what you had back in 2019, which is the last time you looked at it. So.
Yep.
Does anyone have any comments or changes?
I think do we know how much money we have saved up?
I don't know that. Mostly what, yeah, I'll have to check with our new treasurer because there was some discrepancies in how it had been accounted for or allocated in the past few years. And so he had gone through and tried to reconcile everything. I do know that I believe most of the monies fall under the police department to fund warden activities and monitoring. But if you guys had any projects or whatever, we could definitely access some funds for whatever projects you might have, like seating or something.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. We touched on it briefly in the last meeting. And were we going to try to figure out how much money is allocated towards the police department for their efforts?
I will check.
Okay. Because I think that was one thing we were talking about with, the wardens and stuff like that, to make sure that if and how much money is allocated to them, that we're keeping up with that, and they're not going into the the red. So, we want to make sure everything's squared away there. And I think we also we talked about in this meeting, maybe upping the license fees.
Okay.
If anybody else has any, suggestions, comments, or disagreeing with raising any fees whatsoever. I mean, I think that'd be nice to be able to hear that now, before anybody makes any suggestions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have anything positive and negative to say about that?
You have, last I knew, I thought it was like $15,000 or 20,000 in the Shellfish fund. And it seemed like it was piling up, from the license fees, and there weren't really any expenses. And I think, the police department bought maybe a couple pairs of boots or something, and they're already employed, and that was decided it was part of their maybe employment or patrol. I don't know if there was, and like the harbor master boat was made available for patrols there as part of their existing duties. So I don't know, unless you have a project in mind, or I guess what the need is, more to be paid. But
I guess I'm just having trouble hearing what Victor's saying.
Okay, so just to summarize, because the mic's probably too far from him. He said he thought there was about $15,000 in funds, and that the police department, as far as wardens, had bought some boots for their patrols, and that the funding for them doing their work was, he thought, already included in their regular job salary under the police budget, and that the marina had the boat available for patrols. And again, that cost was already covered in the marina's budget. Is that a good summary?
Oh, so no allocation from the Shellfish Fund goes towards to compensating them at all?
I guess that's what Victor's saying, so I'll have to check with our treasurer on that, and maybe I can have him come to the next meeting and explain what's left
okay.
with our budget and what you guys can do with it.
I think it's cheap, access that for stuff maybe needed and wouldn't have to go to a special vote or something if they needed boots or whatever other things might be important, but I didn't think that there was a regular draw from it unless something was required, which I don't know what that would be,
Okay,
but I could be wrong. That's what I remember last.
Is Kevin still on with us? Is he already gone?
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Sleep.
Oh, do you happen to know anything about that, or?
I don't remember the last time anybody bought boots. Normally we get them through the department. There's really no special boots.
Yeah.
And I don't know for a fact how much we put in for a budget line item or whatever it is for the Shellfish wardens. A lot of times we just patrol while we're on duty anyway. Check the flats, and if we see something, we deal with it. So there's no like specialized. We did a couple of ones, and I don't know if even there was any money in the Shellfish line for the wardens this year at all. So that's something we're looking into.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we should definitely look into. Like you said, Claire, look into the treasurer and figure that out. And I think we talked about it briefly in the last meeting. If there's any sort of allocation that comes from our fund to go to them, we want to make sure that, if that's so, that they're getting compensated for doing the extra work for us.
mhm.
But then I think we also touched on talking about, if any of the harbor masters or the assistant harbor master, the new, I don't know what the title is, assistant to the assistant or whatever,
Yeah,
if we were talking about maybe potentially utilizing any of them, if they've already gotten their warden certificate with the state, is there any reason why we wouldn't be able to have them become, wardens for the town of Mount Desert?
actually, Adam Thurston, the deputy harbor master, is sworn in as a Shellfish warden. So,
Okay.
I'll send out an email to the wardens tomorrow, reminding them that there's annual training, if they need to renew their training. It's coming up.
Yep. I just didn't know if since they've got, I guess hard to say now because it's been pretty busy, but if there is any sort of more quote unquote free time for them, if they go out on the boat, or they tow the boat over to Bartlett's or something to go peruse around over there, because I know taking the boat from Northeast would be a long ride. I'm sure they probably, if they end up doing that, then if they are out doing their rounds, if they poked into the coves and stuff and kind of spent a little bit more time or something like that, and if there's any more updates on that, or if Kevin or Lee or anybody's out cruising around and they've got the boat over there, if they end up taking them out or go for a ride or something like that. And
Yep.
Okay. I'm just making a note to check with John and Adam about that.
yeah, I know that everyone's right out straight and don't want to put anything more onto people's plates, but it'd probably be good to be able to poke around in areas, like Bartlett's Island or any of the islands that you can't really see, Kevin or Lee can't really see by driving around patrolling.
Right.
I know there's definitely a lot of hot spots where, good digging either, is or used to be, where you could drive by and see, but there's
Right.
a lot of places that are limited due to access, visibility from the road, or due to, property owners or property being changed over. Because I don't know if I couldn't hear what Victor was saying, if he had seen many people out there, if he's been out and around, but I'm sure with
Yeah,
the price
no,
being up.
he hasn't seen too many people out and about.
Yeah. If the price has been up pretty good, then there might be good potential for when the weather gets better for people to be poking around in spots where they shouldn't be.
True.
Okay, so I'll let you guys think about how you might want to update the allocation plan with maybe what you want to charge for the licenses, or if you want to keep it the same for the next meeting. And then at that meeting, hopefully, we'll have the treasurer be able to come and speak to us about what the funding situation is. And so that can give you direction on whether you want to make a different charge. I know that since 2019 was the last time that we were actively selling new licenses. I don't know how the correct way to word it, but the selectmen have been rolling them over for the last couple years. So, if you had a license, if you bought a license in 2019, it's still current. So there probably wasn't.
Right, you guys haven't been asking for us to pay since 2019.
Yeah, no.
When do you happen to know when the last time the fee was changed?
Oh, wow. It was, I can look back through the records. It would have been before I started doing this. So It's been at least 7 years, if not more.
Right.
So I would check.
I guess if for our next meeting, would we be able to find out that information, the last time it was increased and how much it was increased by? And do you happen to know now, or if we could figure out for the next meeting, how many resident recreational and how many non-resident recreational licenses we've sold?
I can, I do have that information not here with me, but I can get it and bring it to the next meeting. But like I said, I can tell you how much has been sold since, for currently since 2019, because we haven't been, I mean, if somebody walks in today and they want a recreational license, I'll sell them one and it'll be good for 6 months. But if they bought one in 2019 or later, it's still current.
Oh, okay. So if anyone's purchased, whether it's a commercial or recreational license in 2019, that license is still current for them as well.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because we hadn't really met to make any new allocations. So we've just been going on what was passed in 2019.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic. And like I said, I mean, not like we want to be skyrocketing prices or anything like that, but I guess it'd be good to figure out if you had mentioned about wardens and the police department, stuff like that, want to make sure everything's up to date. We're, paying what we need to pay. And if there's a huge abundance of money in there, in our account, then I guess I wouldn't see any reason why we would need to increase it unless anybody else disagrees.
Okay. All right, we'll look into that for the next meeting. Do you have anything else, or should we move on?
I think I'm good unless anybody else has anything.
Okay, so I brought the annual review for the calendar year 2021. There's wasn't really any activity in 2021, so there's not much to report on in the annual review. So it's just pretty much an update of who the members are, who the wardens are, and just reporting that there was no activity. So that will be wrapped up once I get the final warden's report and budget information from the treasurer. Then I will submit that so it's in DMR's hands by April, which is better than we did.
And that will be everything that we'll need to keep current with DMR.
I believe so.
Okay.
Is that right, Heidi?
Yes, you submitted your budget report, which was outstanding. We have that in hand now, so you're all complete for 2020. Submit your 2021 report by April 1st, and then your allocation isn't due until 30 days prior to licenses going on sale, so you'll be all set.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I guess if nobody has anything else, we should talk about when we want to have the next meeting. And at that meeting, we'll set the allocation so that we're all set to go on July 1st and get that submitted to DMR.
Okay. So the next time we have something that's due for them that will require a meeting will be June 1st or July 1st, you said?
No, we'll need to have it before June. Heidi, how long do you think it takes to get approved?
It's not, you just, by the regulation, you have to submit your allocation 30 days prior to licenses going on sale. So if your licenses go on sale July 1st, you got to submit your form to us by June 1st. So
Okay.
You'll have to have your meeting before that.
Right. Okay, so it looks like May is the next meeting.
What about Thursday, May 5th?
Well, I mean, do you want to meet every month?
Might want to keep ahead of the curve.
Well, the week of May 5th is gonna be pretty stressful here because we have our town meeting on the 3rd. So I'd kind of like to catch my breath before I start the next one.
Thursday, the 12th.
We could, let's see. I have a broadband committee meeting on the 12th that would take place here, so I won't have the meeting room available.
Well, I guess what works well for anybody else, like the week of May 9th to the 13th or the 16th to the 20th?
The week of the 16th, Thursday, the 19th is available in here. If you want to meet in April, Thursday, the 21st is available.
So do you want to have the meeting sooner than that? Is that what you're suggesting?
David suggested to stay ahead of the curve and go ahead and meet in April. So it's up to you guys.
So what date in April did you say works?
I have the room open on April 21st. That's a Thursday.
Yep. And then what about the week of the 25th to the 29th? Is any day open then?
I guess the 28th is open, but that's right before our town meeting, and our office is usually kind of scrambling to make sure everything's buttoned up for the meeting.
Okay, so April 21st?
That looks good on our calendar.
23rd or the 21st?
21st is the Thursday.
I had a couple things, Claire.
Yeah,
And Kevin, this would be something you might notice too, but there's we've got a file approved for a grant to do some water quality surveys, samples in Northwest Cove. And they had extra room for samples, or money for samples and on the truck to take to the lab. So they're gonna share that with us at Pirates Cove. That's become a seasonal, it's pretty much the March proper. It's become seasonally closed. So if you see anybody down there doing anything, that there's gonna be sampling going on there.
Okay.
And then that'll be, maybe it could lead to DNA samples to find out what's causing it, if it's from beavers or dogs or human sewage or what have you.
Okay.
So that's a productive thing. And there's also a Maine Clam Week planning going on, which one of the things that we might try to do, I thought would work for Mount Reserve, because the conservation credits include, I think, just any committee approved educational activity. So for the Clam Week, they might try to do like a brochure to hand out with at certain restaurants, and they might have a narrative from, say, a digger, and this could range from, say, they interview David and he say something about how shore access is tough to come by and not getting easier. People read it while they're eating and consider it, and then think twice maybe next time they want clams and they can't find them from anybody around here. Or just put a name, face, location, and then something clicks and say, oh, I know who that person is. Other things that might happen is, I could say use a narrative to push my purge product that gets soaked by Bartlett's Island, and people eat clams and not have any grit, and understand there's a lot that goes in behind it. So that's something that is being planned right now, and other towns, I don't know if they can just include that as a conservation credit. A lot of people just end up having shoreline cleanup or posting signs. So I suggested we try it in Mount Desert. I guess David was interested in maybe providing the narrative as a harvest there. I thought this would be kind of pilot it in where we have some wiggle room on what's considered conservation credit. I think that works, Heidi. If you were to look at our conservation credit requirements, just any educational activity, I think was something we voted to approve as a credit. I would think that would be approvable.
I can't off the top of my head remember what your ordinance says, but certainly if that is included as an, educational activities or whatever is included as a allowable thing, then that would be up to your town and your committee to decide what is and what isn't educational that way.
Yeah, I thought I remembered you guys doing that. I'll have to,
Conservation time.
thanks, Kevin.
Definitely somewhere near, but I'm pretty sure that would.
Says conservation time is those measures and activities approved by the committee for the purposes of resource enhancement and the support of this ordinance. So that's pretty, I guess, vague language that you could include education and that type of activity for conservation credits.
I think we did that intentionally to, allow for just even fisherman's forum attendance or anything productive,
Yeah, I think you had counted in the past, anytime somebody attended, one of those, I forget what they call, but you had some meetings or something, some fishermen's meetings and. Yeah, fishermen's forum, that's what it was. And you counted that, you counted cleanup, you counted feeding, I think, at one point. So I think,
Well, considering we only have two hours necessary to maintain our license anyway, 2 meetings covers that.
yeah,
Yeah. But this would mostly be approved. I mean, it would be us too, maybe anybody else, but it would just be to show that there's a way to include it in the municipal management and get.
Yes, it should be in there. That's something you should look into because it's very vague, obviously, not one sentence.
And it would be,
A lot of other.
well, we did that, and when we did talk about it, that was one of the things we wanted to be able to count, anything that had anything to do with, clamming that was decided by the committee as a productive thing, so. That was why I mentioned it to that group, but they asked that I bring it up at the meeting, and I think,
Well, I think would be boss there. Would that cover educational under our definition, Heidi?
From what Claire just read, I would say that as long as your committee votes to say that it is, then it is. It seems to me, anytime you're educating the public, that's educational activities that promote your program and hopefully protect your resources in the end. Helping to educate the public obviously is a very important aspect of all of this.
We need to vote in on.
that vote already happened when it said, to include educational, whatever. And this would be more of a pilot for other towns that don't have that, as because some towns are strictly conservation credits are just, 2 or 3, a brushing, a shoreline cleanup event, but this would be something to encourage other towns to open up and allow more things. That way, you can have diggers doing stuff that could be more productive than them showing up and picking up a couple bottles and cans and then leaving as soon as the tide turned or something. So I figured we could start small, but just looking at.
The honor is always.
So do we need to make a motion on that, Claire, or?
I don't know that we need a motion because, well, I guess it does say here, what's it say? It says, it just says activities approved by the committee. So I guess if you want to make a motion that you approve that public education.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess be nice to know also, what else have we approved? Do we have a list of things that we've already approved that we can include in the wording so that, the next meeting a year from now or 2 years from now, we talk about it and we're like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have to keep on approving educational stuff.
Right, if you're gonna enhance that definition, you want to do a good job right now.
Well, I don't know that we're gonna change the definition within the ordinance. It's too late to do that for this year. And I'm not sure that we really want to change the definition in the ordinance, but if you want to have a list of activities that you guys have approved in the past to count for conservation credits, we can, I'm sure, come up with a list of those activities.
Yeah, Claire,
Yeah,
I would definitely recommend that you keep it outside of your ordinance. Just keep a list separate that you keep on file or whatever, and add to it as you approve things that are approved activities, because you don't want to have to go changing your ordinance every time.
Yes, I agree.
Just do it.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm not going to have time to research things between now and the next meeting. So if somebody wants to come up with a list of activities they've already used for conservation credits, then we can bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
And I guess if we're meeting on the 21st of April, then I should probably, I'd like to get the agenda and everything out the first week of April, so that people have time to get it in the mail, because the mail's slow as molasses now. Yeah, and I do apologize. I think we only had about a week to receive it in the mail this time. I didn't get what I needed as a final agenda from Rustin until just about a week or so before this meeting. So yeah, so the first week of April, I'd need that list if we're gonna include it on the next agenda.
I guess we don't require conservation time at all. It's just 2 meetings, and it's not done by hours at all.
Yeah.
Really necessary. I mean, it's not required. It hasn't been required here for ever since I've been here, so.
I think it'd be more of a,
More like a public relations thing.
that's why I thought it worked for this town, because you wouldn't have to change anything, but you could tip a hat and say, nice conservation. Other towns that have a strict requirement, and I know they're trying to get away from the buyouts, which is pretty convenient sometimes if you have licenses in multiple towns. So it would be a productive option instead of making people drag their feet, but
Okay,
I wasn't stressed out over it, but I probably will ask David and maybe another harvester from the town to help with a narrative for this and needs to be done, yeah, I guess.
okay. Okay. So any other business or discussion? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn.
You do.
Okay, and I guess everybody want to vote?
Second.
1, 2,
I second that.
3. Okay, got it. Thank you all. We'll see you on April 21st.
Excellent.
Okay, goodbye.
Hopefully we got green grass and flowers.